Hey there, guys. Alright, today we are watching another video. Well, it's been a long ass time since I watched a video from this channel, Historia Militum, from Boys to Men, the impressive Spartan training system. Now, the last video that I watched from this channel was it a year ago or has it been 2 years? I can't remember, but it was their video on, like Roman Legion training or something like that. And what I remember was that was a very good fucking video. So, at least that's what I remember. I'm hoping I'm remembering correctly. I don't know. I just have a vibe that I remember it being good. So, we're going to assume that it was good. Um, I'm confident it was good. I don't know why I am putting out this doubt here. I'm gonna shut up. Well, kind of shut up. I'm going to switch topics. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. Would love to join the Discord. Follow me over Twitch, and please do go check out the gaming channels here on YouTube. One is for edited content, and then the other is just the stream VODs put up unedited, blah blah, unfiltered. That said, I don't have anything else to say here at the beginning of this video. Let's just get into the impressive Spartan training system.
It is said there was a time when the citizens of Sparta were not unlike any others in ancient Greece. After all, they shared a common culture, language, religion, and lifestyle, so there was really no way of being superior.
The religion of Zeus fucking every single thing that he sees. If it breathes, he can... If it breathes, it breeds. That's Zeus's motto.
In anything. Herodotus even says Spartans were the worst governed people in all of Greece. That is, of course, until Sparta came under the influence of the legendary lawgiver Lycurgus. It was he who supposedly came up with the Spartan constitution, among which was the agoge, a system of education and training to be completed by every Spartan citizen. Most Greek cities also had a similar system in place, but it was Lycurgus's that was so revolutionary for its time that it allowed the Spartans to dominate everyone who dared meet them in the field, and in their prime allowed them to stand undefeated for over 150 years. In this video we will reveal the fascinating methods behind Lycurgus's innovative training system. As Lycurgus gazed upon the lazy, mediocre citizens of Sparta, he decided that his people were in need of a different concept of upbringing. At the center of this idea was his belief that healthy, disciplined, able-bodied individuals are integral to a successful,
Yoked boys.
and functioning society. So his system was to be extended to every young Spartan citizen, male and female. And though the girls were excluded from the more rigorous and extreme system of the agoge, they were still expected to perform the same exercises as the boys, like fighting and running, as it was believed that both parents had to be in peak condition in order to produce the best
Damn, look at them thighs. Holy shit.
possible offspring. To our modern eyes, Lycurgus's system represents an interesting and extreme experiment that can't be replicated today. What would happen if an entire community
Mainly because, don't want our children to die?
was isolated from the rest of the world and brought up through constant discipline, physical exercise, and resistance to
And also there are, probably mental issues with this kind of upbringing.
struggle, with these being held as a social norm and reason for existence of every individual. In theory, this would produce a perfect society of tough individuals, with built-in qualities to show respect, endure the struggles of life, and always strive for perfection. But now let us see how Lycurgus implemented his idea into a real system, and if it achieved the intended results he wanted. For the boys, the system was divided into 3 categories: children, adolescents, and young adults. The first category was very similar in idea to a modern boarding school. Young Spartans would leave their families to learn letters, music, poetry, singing, and sport. Other
Nice.
Greek city-states had a similar system, but relied on private pedagogues to teach their children. The Spartan system, on the other hand, was more communal, in which one man was chosen to be in charge of the boys as their paidonomos, or supervisor. This highly important role of bringing up the next generation of Spartans was only open to those who were eligible for election to the highest offices. It was the job of the supervisor to make sure young Spartans became loyal, resourceful, disciplined, and
So were you chosen to be the Paidonomos as a fucking child? You're like, yeah, You're gonna be the leader. I mean, I guess that adds up to the time period and really up until the last couple hundred years, we chose our leaders based on birth and rank like that. Um, and I guess it is a good idea. Like you single out someone to be the Paitonomos at a young age, but then you start really training them into the skills of a leader from a young age that would probably likely make them a better commander and leader of men. So, okay, I don't hate it.
Accustomed to extensive physical activity. Most importantly, though, as the writer Plutarch nicely puts it, the Agoge was a school of obedience. The supervisor was given power to punish the boys as he saw fit, and always commanded a group of older boys with whips to enforce his punishments. And to make sure the boys were never left without a supervisor, he allowed every citizen to take on his role when he wasn't around, and to order the boys to do whatever seemed appropriate. And yes, citizens were
Oh, that's so problematic.
also allowed to punish the boys if they did anything wrong. For these reasons, the boys were accustomed to being respectful to everyone and only spoke when spoken to. Xenophon even writes.
So, okay. Okay, we're getting a very trying to think of the right word to say here. We're getting the, I guess, idealized kind of belief as to what this sort of system would do. However, I'm going to push back against this. Just because they were obedient does not mean that they were respectful. Now, of course, I'm not saying that the creator here is insinuating that in any way. I'm just adding this. Don't get upsetty spaghetti for me adding this. I'm not like saying the fucking creator here is wrong. At least not yet. Unless he does start saying them, but he hasn't yet. Anyways. This is bad because when you rely so much on that sort of like punishment based system and kind of right, essentially it's the children will just they'll be less expressive of themselves, which the Spartan system here seems to not be about that, right? Right, that's not the purpose of the Spartan system, which is fair, but which is right, that's their culture. However, um, let's look at it. Uh, there are some adults in the world that are not good people and will take that authority over children and abuse it, right? And so what you're gonna have, and I am so like, oh, I want full access. This has me wanting full access to like just Spartan history, like unfiltered every like just to be back in Spartan times and like observe it from a god's eye view and like really see the mental like how things actually work. Because I wonder if we have lost or it just wasn't written down acts of insubordination or maybe even student riots and protests in regards to their treatment, and maybe they were brutally suppressed over the course of however long the Spartans were using this system. Um, um, because this is a system that's very much like, right, like kids aren't stupid. Kids want to be treated decently, right? Um, and I'm sure maybe there was somewhat of a system of a check against the adults in this, but I'm also thinking that there probably wasn't for the Spartans, um, where that the adults could get away with some fucked up shit. And then of course this also like there's so many things that this brings up. The Stockholm syndrome. Probably some kids felt where they're like, no, this is our culture, this is fine, this is acceptable. But then also some students feeling like, no, this just doesn't feel right or something, right? Um, even growing up in this culture, there are still going to people that do not vibe with it, right? That do not fuck with it, or even people like people that are generally uh like grow up in this culture and are very much supportive of this culture still can be like, yo, don't fucking beat me, old man, or something, right? So a lot of varying nuance here that take too goddamn long to talk about, and um, but essentially what I'm trying to say is, there's got it like that's just not a good system, um, because that's going to create animosity between elders and the young, having elders being able to come in and just command them to do whatever they like. That's not going to create a system of obedience in my mind. Um, Even for kids that grew up and only know this lifestyle, there will always be some that uh, fight against it. And of course, I doubt we have any sort of documents really that show us what happened or how people that did not get along with children that were born to Spartan culture and did not fuck with it, um, how they were treated or something. I don't know if we have any information regarding that, or if we can only just try and guess based on what we know of the culture. But yeah, and perhaps this is me partially speaking as someone who went to university and studied teaching, who has managed classrooms, who has taught students. This isn't good. This does not, in my mind, these sorts of systems do not create what they wish to create. Um, like it's going to create a system of obedient of sort of. I definitely think it's going to create the loyalty to one another that the system wants, that communal loyalty with your fellow classmates and to your leader, right? Because in the ideal situation, your leader, I'm guessing they probably believe heavily in collective punishment, in this period. So, the leader, of course, isn't going to want to be punished, so they're gonna do what they can to look out for their class and stuff. So, but also I have immense disagreements with collective punishment. I don't think it works at all. Again, and I think it only fuels that animosity. Um, uh, I just think that kind of treatment fuels an age divide, a generational divide. Um, so yeah, that's essentially what I'm trying to say. Long-winded. How long did I just try and yap for? 7 minutes or something? Really long time.
Writes that the boys would always walk around with a low gaze so as to not provoke anyone. This instilled
No, they're walking with a low gaze because they know how testy their civilization, their culture is. And so they're like, I don't want to take any risk. I don't want to take any risk. That's not a good thing.
of heavy discipline and respect was the first step of their training.
No, no, it's not respect they're learning. They're learning to just get through it. They're learning to do what they need to go through the hoops so that they can just survive and be done with it and not get hurt. That's what the children.
When the boys of other Greek cities
Sparta.
became teenagers, they were released by their pedagogues and private teachers into the world, and no one was in charge of them anymore. Spartan teenagers, however, only entered into their second stage of the agoge. Lycurgus recognized that it was in this age category, when going through puberty, that boys are the most adventurous and troublesome. So in keeping with his system, he enforced even more hardships and labor on the boys. They were to have only one cloak to stay warm all year, and had to walk barefoot in order to strengthen their feet. For Lycurgus believed that if their feet were properly accustomed, they could run faster and jump higher than anyone in footwear. At this age,
Uh, I mean, oh, they would be able to march for longer, I would say, but I don't think it would make them faster in any sense of the word. There are also health issues that would come up because you're gonna get calluses that will bleed from that. Like I remember when I was in high school, I was doing martial arts, and you're barefoot for martial arts, and so we would be barefoot in, you know, a gymnasium sort of thing. A couple of the dojos would have like a carpet or something, just because it was like, right. You would I would go through. It was like, can't remember. Uh, but sometimes it was a gymnasium. Sometimes we would be in a carpeted room. But you would still get calluses from that on the soles of your feet. And sometimes, right, over time, and I was only doing this was like 1 hour a day, 3 days a week of martial arts class. Over time, I remember at one point I ended up getting a callus that broke and it bled a lot, and keeps you from that takes you out. Now, of course, for the Spartan culture at the time, if you had a callus, they probably wrapped it. If you were bleeding, they probably wrapped it and told you to get back to marching. Which of course only causes further health problems, right? That's not what you want to do when it comes to the treatment of injury and open wounds. But yeah, like when so this doesn't no I think it certainly I think it definitely lets them be more used to the uncomfortability of marching, right? Like they'll be more comfortable in a boot and they'll be able in boots and they'll be able to march for longer. I think is really the only thing that they're going to be able to take away from that. Um like they'll have longer endurance, I would say, is my guess in terms of science ish, but speed, higher jumping, no, because that stuff is just tied to the leg muscles, and you're not going to get stronger leg muscles from being barefoot, right? So yeah.
Age, they were also taught to fight with weapons and march collectively in full silence, under the rhythm of music. These silent marches would be used as a psychological weapon in battle, as most armies did not have the discipline to pull this off, and it would be offsetting for anyone to witness a seemingly emotionless and confident army face off against them. Interestingly, collective dancing, known as pirikios, was also performed by the Spartans. These war dances were essentially repetitive compound movements in full arms and armor, which would strengthen countless muscles in the body and improve their overall.
I'm so curious what the average male Spartan soldier's physique looked like. Um, because right, obviously we have the statues and the painting, the stuff that the architectural stuff that has survived has them, of course, with fucking abs and shit. I'm curious what their body fat percentage would have been, right? Because yeah, they are doing a lot of physical labor, but how much are they eating, right? Of course, obviously, to be stronger soldiers, they certainly have to be eating. At the they're definitely having to eat more calories than the average person needs for maintenance because right they are doing a lot of extensive labor and work. I'm just right like were they low body fat percentage or did they have enough access to food to be sort of um kind of like modern American U.S. soldier kind of build where they're pretty big. They're jacked. They got muscle. But if they were to take their shirt off, they got a belly, right? They got a belly. They're not like lean. They're not cut. Some are, but most, I would say most aren't. And I wonder which side of the spectrum they lean more towards.
Balance and cohesion. As you can probably
Because obviously, when we think back to the past, they did not have access to the food, like the amount of food and quality of food that we had access to. Now, of course, some parts of their diet were definitely, I would say, better than ours. They had access to way less sugar, which was much better for their teeth, and just overall health and diet. But yeah, I wonder if so curious because also, like Sparta's pretty small.
Probably tell by now, Spartan training was not focused on extensive muscle growth of any kind. Instead, it
Oh,
was aimed at improving speed, agility, and muscle memory.
speed is bigger muscle though. Um, sprinters. Sprinters are jacked. They're huge. It is distance runners that are the skinny boys. Um, Speed and agility is tied to bigger muscles because bigger muscles are fast twitch. Right. If with someone with bigger muscles, their body is more lean towards fast twitch movements. Right. That's what bigger muscles do. Thinner muscle, like a thinner frame, that sort of thing. That's tied to long distance because one, less weight, right, and that's just how slow twitch muscles kind of are, right? I do not have endurance. I have, but I am built for fast twitch movements. um, so because that's just how it be. This is sort of I don't. Spartans are wrong.
So we could expect the average Spartan body to not be overly muscular, but instead nimble and lean, carrying just enough weight and muscle for optimal physical performance. Complementing this point is the fact that Spartan youths were never fully sated, and were always hungry to some degree.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Well, all right. So I think somewhere along the line maybe we were given wrong information or someone maybe a mistranslation. No, it couldn't be a mistranslation. We would have something's wrong here because this is not and I mean, yeah, they didn't have maybe access. They probably didn't scientifically know this shit, but like but there's no way that a society so focused on rigorous training wouldn't understand that this is not how the body can operate at peak. And maybe that's part of why the Spartans failed. We're not really a long-lived thing, because that's not how you fuel a body. This is not how you fuel a body for peak performance, for peak physicality, and a thinner frame. Now, of course, they still have some muscle, so they're gonna still have some speed to them, right? They're gonna still have some bit of speed, but they could be faster. I think more so. My guess is maybe I want to say the Spartans knew, and maybe it's something from an interpretation from later historians that we messed things up. I don't know, because it just doesn't seem right. I don't know. I always want to give the cultures of the past the benefit of the doubt that they knew more than what we would like to assume, because we definitely have this modern sort of, I guess, modern superiority bias where we want to kind of be like, oh, they didn't know as much as us or whatever, and we always want to kind of assume that, oh, we only really understood this thing at this point in time. There's no way they could have understood it at that time, and I've always kind of pushed back against that, like they wouldn't know like the technical terms that we do today or the real sciency reasons behind it, but like I feel like a lot of past cultures, past people would at least understand it from a conceptual sort of standard, like disease and viruses, right? They didn't have the technical terms for them to understand them or really understood why they spread the way they do, but they understood disease and viruses spread for some reason, quarantine these people, the sick, away, right? That they understood that. Um, so, and of course, we're getting this bit here from the creator of this video talking about like the Spartans left them hungry on purpose in a way, I guess. Why? Why would the Spartans like? I think we're about to get the why, but surely they knew that this wouldn't be best for their soldiers, and not being like if they truly wanted speed and agility, you want them to be nourished fully, and you want them to have larger muscle. But a soldier needs to be able to fight for a long period of time, and so like this would be having them be leaner lends itself more to that need of being leaner, right? Because again, distance, stamina is you do better with distance and stamina as a leaner person, and you do better with speed as a more muscular built person.
Xenophon explains it was to encourage them to steal, but if any were caught stealing, they received a
Oh, okay.
beating, not so much for the act of stealing, but for being caught doing it. This was all part of the second stage of their training, which ensured they were resourceful and had a high resistance to hunger and pain. Even their resistance to the cold was
See, again, this, I don't, like,
constantly tested, as they would bathe in the cold waters of the Eurotas River, under the concrete opinion that bathing in hot water made one a coward. The recurring theme in Lycurgus's system of rationing, training, and clothing Spartan youths was to make them more self-controlled in regard to their needs. In other words, it made the boys more content and indifferent with having less food, clothing, and personal possessions. This was in hopes that when a difficult situation inevitably does present itself, Spartan citizens would be more likely to recover and care for themselves, in comparison to other Greeks, who were accustomed to being provided with minor comforts and luxuries.
I definitely think it certainly makes them more, on an individual level, a more resourceful people. But I think the logic for the why they're like that is a bit wrong, right? Like I don't think they are being more resourceful because of good reasons. They're being more resourceful for like bad reasons. I'm running out of words to use.
To further discipline them, they were ordered when in public to hide their hands under their cloak, walk silently, and keep their eyes fixed on the ground. Xenophon even says you would be more likely to see a stone speak or a bronze statue turn its eyes than them, who would reserve their words for only when spoken to. When the boys grew into young men, Lycurgus focused the most time and effort on them, because he believed they were the city's greatest asset. In this stage, he especially focused on bringing out their sense of competitiveness and teamwork, for he believed this was the
God, I could not. Naked wrestling? No,
best
thank
way
you.
to have the men push themselves to the limit of their abilities. In today's world, this can be seen in professional sports, and Lycurgus did a great job of implementing that mindset for the purpose of war. Xenophon explains how he did this. Out of all the young men, he would assign 3 strong leaders to each handpick the best 100 among themselves to be in their team.
Okay, so almost anyone, at least those born to a certain status, they would be learning how to be a leader, and then at this point in time is when they become the group leader.
Each of the 3 leaders would also have to give a reason for each choice and rejection. Then these leaders and their chosen groups would be pitted in various activities and battles against the very men they rejected. This resulted in a lot of competition, as each selected man wanted to prove that he belonged there, and each rejected one wanted to prove he was underestimated. We are told the contests that ensued were always fierce, with each man pushing himself for the victory of his group. Such intense competition even resulted in fistfights between the members of the groups, but were always...
Yep, okay, this is... Actually, we are getting the information that I was kind of wondering about earlier. Yeah, no, this is forming a society that is very toxic and not good on an individual level.
separated and punished to remind each man that their inner contests should never be above their obedience to the law. We can imagine that their contests would extend even onto the battlefield, where although the group stands side by side, each would strive to outperform the other and be the last to flee. Unlike with the recruitment of the Roman legions, where men were selected based on stature and strength, it can be said that each Spartan, male or female, would be in great shape as they enter adulthood, and anyone slightly shorter or slimmer than the rest would know how to compensate in speed and vigor. We can safely say Lycurgus' system made sure that every citizen was a worthy recruit for when the need arose. When the Spartans grew out,
I think the worthy recruit bit is a bit of a reach. It's just that the culture essentially forces them to be there, and because of how the culture works, they're not going to be able to run away, so they'll just end up dying in battle. Like, that's just, it's a brutal culture.
Out of their young adulthood, they were finally relieved of physical training. But Lycurgus ensured through social norms that their readiness for battle and pursuit of excellence carried on. For example, hunting remained the most popular leisure activity for them, as it stimulated a lot of the military hardships and gave them an urge to stay physically fit and mentally aware. Marriage was also a motivator, as only when Spartans were in peak condition were they allowed to marry and have children, as Lycurgus believed this would produce the strongest offspring. He took it even further by making it frowned upon for couples to spend too much time together, as it would negatively affect their competitive spirit. The last social norm, and by far the most brutal, was put in place to discourage cowardice. Anyone who fled a battle was subject to live in constant disgrace in all aspects of life. In any social gathering, they would have to give up their seats to younger men. In the streets, they would have to give way to everyone, and even in their own families, they would have to raise the women, and were not allowed to marry and have a family of their own. On top of all this, they would have to pay a fee for being a coward for as long as they live, and could be beaten if they ever tried to act as though they were innocent in public. Cowards had to endure the most dishonorable lives, which motivated many to rather die in battle than take their place. Do you think Lycurgus' system achieved his goal of molding perfect citizen soldiers, or were his methods a bit excessive and brutal? Let us know in the comments.
I think it does not, no, that's just not how humans work. Now, of course, I say this as someone with access to thousands and thousands of years of our studies and understanding of humanity that Lycurgus did not have access to. And right, you can see the logic behind Lycurgus's decisions, but again, I don't think, right, like, Sparta does not last really as a civilization. It does not really. It was what, peak for 100 years or so. It held power for like 100 years, which really, if we look at history, that's not a long period of time, right? And the impact that it had in those 100 years really isn't a big impact, really, either. Like, we have romanticized Sparta a lot, but if we really look at it, what did Sparta leave behind? Even, it didn't leave behind really anything. I mean, it left behind some good stories, and that's about it, really, kind of. Of brutality is really what we remember Sparta for. And is that really a good thing to be remembered for? I would say no, right? Like, they're not really remembered. There's like nothing, like, yeah, there's just nothing about the society that remains aside from it was a brutal society. That's it. That's really all. Like, they didn't leave behind yeah, we have art, Spartan art, but this is like the same fucking Greco art that the other city-states were making, you know? So yeah, it's just, I don't think it created what Lycurgus wanted it to do. But that was From Boys to Men. I yapped way more than I thought I would in this video. The impressive Spartan training system. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.